Ladies and gentlemen, good evening and welcome back. Tonight we're going to look at how we can create a REST controller that will expose the build time information, like who built this artifact. And in this case, it's a Spring Boot jar file and jar application, just a Spring Bootable application, and you probably know those. To do that, we are going to use a plugin for Maven. It also works for Gradle, so you can actually also use it for Gradle. That's a cool thing about this one. If you want to find it, you can just search for Git commit ID Maven plugin. Then you will actually, then you'll come up with this page right here. And the cool part about this is that it's so easy to use. It is version 7 right now, and there's both support for Gradle and Maven, just like I said. And what will it do, and how do we use it? So first of all, you have to add this part right here, plugin, blah, 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 blah. So you have this plugin right here where it says Git commit ID Maven plugin, right there. And then you can set up where it should be executed. This is in the build plugin area, or it's actually just in the plugins area. In this case right here, it's in the goal revision, and it will be run in the phase. The default phase of revision is initialized. Yeah. So, sorry, I just lost my track there. Let's And what will it actually do? It will actually create a git.properties file, and it will actually place all of the information that was present in the Git, on the Git branch, and the Git it will present you the Git commit ID, the user, the email, all information that we usually have from Git was actually this area right here. Per default, they actually recommended you add this configuration right here, but that's because you can choose which fields to show right here. Right now, it's a build time, and it's a build commit ID that will only be propagated to the Git.properties file. But if you remove this section, and I recommend you to do that at least to begin with, there's a nice documentation on how to and which fields that you can add. They are in here somewhere in the documentation. You just go look it up yourself. But I actually like to leave this section out, because then I get all of the properties. But let's get right into it. So let's get right into it. I've prepared already right here. So this is my hero Git repository, my hero application. And I have gotten to my pom.xml file. This is my Maven definition file, pom.xml right here. And right now, the most current version is version 7, and it supports, I think the major changes from, 6 to 7 was that now it also supports the newer versions of Maven. Which is great, of course. So now it's version 7, and you can see right here I've outcommented the includes only properties section right here. That means that now I'll get everything right here, and it's very easy. I can just run Maven clean. You can see I actually already ran install, but let me just run clean install. That means it will delete my target folder. That's what happens when you run clean, and then it will actually generate the Git.properties file afterwards. And then we can see what we'll actually get. And then what we will do is we will expose this Git.properties file as a REST controller in Spring Boot, and then we can actually present the build information in the UI. If you make, sometimes you will have a single page UI in front, like React or Vue.js or Angular, Angular.io maybe. And then you can actually fetch the build information, and then you can present that, because sometimes when you're deploying to environments, then it can be a bit confusing. You don't know which version has been deployed, who was it deployed by, and which time, and which Git commit ID does it represent. And when you get that information in the UI, then as a developer, if you need to debug something, then you can go and check out exactly that Git commit ID, and you can also, if it's a branch, you can also see the branch, and then you can jump to that branch and of course see what's going on, and then you can, if there's a problem, then you can recreate that locally on your own machine, and then it's much easier to create a unit test and then fix it afterwards. Yes, in that order. Test-driven development, right? Yeah. I tried to sound convincing when I said that. But now we're done running the install. Install means that it will create the jar file, and it will also place it in your local Maven repository. You know you have a local Maven repository, which is out in your home folder. And that means that it has dumped a jar file representing this project right here. in that repository, but it has also dumped it in the target folder, which is right here. So here we have the jar file right there. And if you go look at the classes, oh, what is this? Now I have a git.properties file right here. Ah, okay. So this is what it has been created. So all of these cool properties has now been placed in a git.properties file, and then I can create a REST controller that then fetches all of these properties right here and exposes that as JSON so my front-end application can pick it up. Just for fun, let us look if it's also in the jar file as it has promised us. So I'll just copy the absolute path and let us see if then I go to the folder right here and I'll rename it to zip.setip. Yes, I want to change it because now I can open it up and then I can look inside my my Java application. Why did I not have that? I need to run repackage maybe before I get it. Let me just. I felt cheated out for. I think I need to run repackage actually. That's also when it creates the yeah. Let me just try something. Instead of running install, then Spring Boot actually has another target that can be run. Let me just delete that one. And that is, it's called repackage. So let me just go right here, plugins, Spring Boot, and repackage that is. So you have to run repackage. That's also that's also if you want to have a manifest file where it says which okay, yeah, of course. So I need to run install first. Yeah, I'll run install again so that my jar file will be created. It's just because I deleted the jar file. And then we need to run repackage. What happens in repackage is that Spring will actually create a manifest file for you so that it knows. So when you run it as a when you just run it with the jar command, then it would know which class actually to run repackage. I think that should be okay. But let us just forget that just to begin with. It should be a part of the jar file, and it should actually be out in the root. So now we have the jar file. Let me just check once again. No. It is not there. Okay, I'll follow up on that. But it is of course possible to get it there. Maybe I'm looking someplace. Yeah, okay, it was there. Of course, I need to look in bootinf classes. I just looked in the wrong folder. So here we have the properties file. We can open it, of course. Then we can see that we actually have all of the properties and it also says that it was generated by git commit ID plugin. Thank you very much for that information. Then we know that. So let me just close that. Okay, so far so good. We are at the right place. We're happy. We have now seen that the git commit, the git properties file is now being placed in the jar file. So now we're actually quite happy. Now we will create a build REST controller right here. So we'll say build info REST controller like this. We will annotate it as Spring Boot. So we will annotate it with REST controller. We'll annotate it with quest mapping right there. And we'll give it something like build. And then we can have a get mapping right here, which says info. So now we have this public, and then we will return all of the data as a map, and that could be object. I think that's the easiest part. And then we'll say, of course, you could also create a you could actually create a class that actually represents all of the fields that you have. That is also one way to handle it. But then you have to maintain that, and if there are changes in the future in the git commit ID plugin, and you upgrade and you don't see it, then you suddenly will have an error. Of course, that's also a good thing, because then you can fix your code and then and also fix maybe the property names, the key values. Maybe they have changed, so then you also need to fix your front end anyway. So so this is our method right here. So there are pros and cons for doing that. So you can do both right here. So okay, so first we need to get the class loader. You know, when we need some resources, then we need the class loader. CL for class loader, and I should not be lazy. Class loader, and then we will get the class loader from the current thread. Get contact class loader. There is. So now that we have that, then we can try to open it up. We can use the class loader, and then we can say get resources stream. And when we have that get resources stream right here, first of all we need a file name. So we'll say private static final file name, and we can say get file name equal to string equal to, and we say get the properties like this. Yes. So now our get file name is right there. Then we say get file name right there. And of course, now with the new syntax, we have this cool syntax here where we have the try, and then we can say because then we don't have to close the file again, and then we say input stream, and there's nothing magic about this input stream right here. It's just when we do something like this, then we are automatically closing the file when we're done. We also need a catch, of course, so we need to catch exception E, and we can just throw a new one, runtime exec like this. Then we know that something went wrong. If something went wrong, it's okay, and then we can actually play around and do what we want in here. And here we want to play around with the properties classes. This is from Java Util, it's very old, but good library. So we say here equal to, and then we say new properties like this, and then you can say properties dot load input stream right there, and then we say input stream like this. So now we are loading in the inputs right there, and now we can play around, because now we really love strings, right? And so now we can play around with our streams. That means we can say properties, and then we can actually get whatever we want to. And there's something called an entry set. That means that we have the key value set in there. Then we say stream, and then we want to convert this into a map. Collect, not to a set, but to a map. Just connect a new line right here to map. And it's actually quite easy to use. So we have the entry set right here, entry set, and the key, what should that be? That should be get key. And then we also need a lambda for, the value, and the value should be the value. And that's actually what we want to return, because now we're actually returning a, could we do that easier? Okay, replace lambda with method reference. Yes, do that. Yes, do that. Of course, we could do that. Map entry get key, map entry get value. So what will happen now is that we will actually get a map returned. That means we should get some cool JSON. Let us try to. Okay, first of all, let us start up the application. But we do not have any get.properties file inside this inside our resources yet. So we don't have a get.properties file right here. But we have it in the target, and let's start it up. I think we might get an error. But let us just do that. If we get an error, then we will create a test instead, and then we will copy the get.properties file into our test folder, into a test source folder. So then we can at least create a unit test that. So let us go to localhost 8080, and then we say build info. Yes, now we got an error. Why did we get that? Why did we get an error? It's port 8080. Forward does not exist. Localhost 8080. build info. Is it? Did I put on some context that I did not think about? No, I did not. So let us just see here the REST controller. I put it down in the test folder. This is simply incredible. I'm sorry about that. So do refactor. Build. Okay, so now it's up in the Java folder. It's not the first time I've made this mistake. So it will probably happen again. So bear with me. I'll just restart my application. Now it's in the Java source folder, not in the Java test. You see here it says test. Here it says main and source. So we have main and we have test right there, and I put it in the test folder instead of putting it in this main folder. Okay, so let us just see again now what happens. So now we have it. It actually works. Really, really cool. And it steals this from... so here we actually have it. So we have all of the information right here. You could also install something like Pretty. Pretty JSON, something like that. You can search. There are many plugins named like that out there. And now we can actually create a directory right here where it says JSON files. So then we add a new file which says git example.json. Okay, that's fine. It's okay. So now we can actually see a nice representation of the JSON right here. And this is what your frontend then will receive when it calls that endpoint. That means that then you can actually fetch out the email. You can fetch out the git commit ID, and you can also see what was the what is the remote origin, where is the repository placed. If you want to go and take the repository, of course you should be careful that there should be no sensitive information right here. I don't think I have that much sensitive information right there. Total commit count 4. There's not that many. That's fine. And yeah, that's actually and you can see the build time right here, and you also have the commit time. So the commit time is of course when you committed it, and the build time is of course when you built the last time. So this is the interesting time. Or actually both timestamps are actually very interesting. So that means that there's also a version. Property up here that you can use, and all of these information are of course very interesting when you have multiple environments. Maybe you have a handful of test environments and development environments. Maybe you also have a staging environment, and then someone comes and says that, oh, there's something wrong, and then you can actually see, it was refreshed and built like 3 weeks ago. So maybe it's because you have solved these bugs in between. So that's it. It is so easy to use. It's actually a lot easier to use here. Just for fun, let us create a unit test for this. You place yourself in end right here, say insert right here, and then you will say test, and then say yes, and you want to test the build info. Yes, okay. Add that, and here we have a test, and you need to make the scope public because it is not a Spring Boot test. Had it been a Spring Boot test, then it would be okay. That it would be default. It would be default scope. I'm pretty sure we need public, or else we'll get in trouble. So let us leave that right there. Let us now create a new build info REST controller like this. Look, of course I could wire it up with Spring Boot. I could say Spring Boot, and then I could make an auto wire test like that. But then you have to start the whole web context and all that. Of course, you can also say that you don't want the web context. You can say that in the header also. But this is just much faster. You don't need to start the whole Spring Boot context for testing the code that we actually made there, because we just want to run build info like this, and you just want to test the map that you get back. And here we'll say that this is the build info. And then we can make some assertions. Assertions.assert that build info has key. And you can see actually here I'm using assert J. It's really cool for asserting something right here. So assert that build info, and it knows it's a map. So that means that I can say something with key, has key, contains key, yeah. And I can come up with one of the keys, and let me just we'll just make up one of them, git branch. So we want to make sure that git branch is there. That is our unit test right now. And of course we could also system out the whole map like this. And now we have the test. I have not added any. I should actually also dump a git.properties file in the test folder. It finds it anyway, and that is because we also have a target folder where that part is also added when you are playing around with when you use IntelliJ right here. But what you should do to have a consistent test is actually to take that. You'll take that git.properties file, this one right here, and then place it in your test folder. Also, then you can also change stuff if you want to. So you'll create a new file right here, and you'll say git.properties, add, and of course you can copy. You can try with the real values, but you could also just put in real values right here, and then you can say you can do something custom for test purpose. Instead of the branch, then we could say some branch, and then we want to see that, of course, that it shows some branch when we run this right here. So let's run the test again. So it still says master right here. That is because the other git properties file is being taken first. Yeah, I guess that is kinda okay. What happens if I write Maven clean first? Maven clean. Then we run the test afterwards, and we go to the test right here. That is Control-Shift F10 for run. Let us see what it says now. In-stream parameter is null. It cannot find the file now. Okay. It's because I should place it under resources. I don't know what's happening right now, so I'm sorry. We need to have, this is the Java files. I need to create a resource file, of course. So I'll create a new directory right here, which says resources. Like, yes, it has already proposed that should be the name. Thank you very much, IntelliJ. So we say refactor, and then we try again. It should be in a resource folder, of course. Yes, now it works. And then we get the some branch right here. I'm very sorry for this. It was a bit, it was not as straightforward as usual, but yeah. I hope I hope the point still got through, right? But so you can, yeah, in your test folder, you can place a file in resources, and of course you can fetch that again with your tests that you have right there for your builds. For your Java for your build information test that you have right here, and you have a cool REST controller that provides that information right there. You can find the code as usual on my on my GitHub page. Just search for my name, and then you can find it. It's also in the description. Another thing is, thank you very much for all of the interest I got in the Java optionals video right here. I know it does not sound like a lot when people say 402 views, but it's a lot for me. I usually get around 100 views per video, so it's I can also see that it's something that people take very personal, how to use optionals. So it was a good topic to dig into. There are both thumbs up and thumbs downs. That yeah. So and that is also fine. I like the discussions in the comments actually. Sometimes it's a matter of opinion, and of course sometimes you would have some corner cases that can actually explain why you would use an optional in one of the ways that would usually seem like a bad practice. Yeah, but I just want to mention that thank you very much for all of the attention for the optional video, and thank you very much for watching, and have a great evening as usual. I hope to see you again soon. Bye bye.